Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 36th California Small Farm Conference. My name is Guido Lois. I'm Communications and Events Manager with CAFF, which stands for Community Alliance for Family Farmers. I think you're going to love the workshop that we have today by our very own Elizabeth Vaughn. I let her introduce herself. And before I pass the mic, I just wanted to remind you that this Zoom call is being recorded, and that if you have any questions, you can always use the chat feature or the Q&A feature as well. And yeah, I just wanted to thank our sponsors for making this happen, for helping us make this happen. And I think that's all I have to say. So Elizabeth, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Gita. All right, so sharing my presentation here, and it looks like that is being shared. We're good to go. All right, so welcome everyone to the annual California Small Farm Conference and to this workshop. Happy Sunday. Thank you for attending the session, and if you've able to attend some other sessions earlier, I hope those are going well. And for our farmers on today's session, I really just want to especially give you thanks for all the work you are doing, building our soils, helping to protect our natural resources, feeding our communities. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for also giving yourself some time today and at the conference to learn these new skills, to build new relationships. We're here to help try to just as much as we can with all the hard work that you're doing. All right, so here's the learning objectives for today's presentation. At the end, we're going to have time for question and answer, so please feel free to jot those down in the Q&A box or the chat box in advance, and we'll get to those hopefully by the end. If we aren't able to get to any of them, we'll do our best to answer them in a follow-up email to the entire list of attendees. And yeah, you're all going to be muted, but you can post those questions, and we're going to keep an eye on both the chat and the Q&A box, so please feel free to use that. And at the end of today's session, we're really eager to share a brand new resource that we're just releasing today, actually, at this session. So we're really eager to also hear your feedback on this because it is in beta mode. We literally just released it, and I've had about 5 or 6 farmers test it, and they've all really appreciated it. They think it works really well, but we still need a lot of feedback on it. So I really would love to hear honest feedback at the end of today's session. So just plugging that now. All right, so a bit about this program at CAFF that has created this resource and myself and what we do at the Small Farm Tech Hub at CAFF. So our current team includes myself, Elizabeth Vaughn. I'm the Tech Hub Specialist at Community Alliance with Family Farmers, and my colleague that you see pictured here, Maria Roscoe, is our advisor, and we're both supporting farmers directly one-on-one with their technical support needs around digital technology or other farm technology regarding production needs, irrigation, anything like that. And we've also had numerous contractors over the last 3 years providing support to farmers. And at the Small Farm Tech Hub, one of the things we are working on is identifying web-based solutions that will make purchasing local food more convenient, accessible, and competitive. So that's what this workshop is all about today, is to help you learn a new resource around that. And a lot of what is informing this presentation and our new resource is the hundreds of hours that our program has spent providing direct support to farmers. So we hope it will be informative for everyone. Before I dig into the meat of today's presentation, just want to highlight that we have hosted many webinars in the past where farmers themselves have shared their direct experiences using various online systems. We've recorded those, we've uploaded them to our YouTube channel, which you can see here on this slide. It's just going to be me talking today, unfortunately, so I want to encourage you all to go hear from some of the farmers directly via our recorded videos to learn more. And the right side of the slide highlights what we have on our website at the Small Farm Tech Hub, so caff.org/tech hub. You can access that website. We have podcasts that we recommend, social media groups, publications, and you are also able to submit a request to receive direct support from the Tech Hub through that free consultations, and also sign up for our Small Farm Tech newsletter, which is in addition to CAFF's newsletter. We give highlights on new resources that have come out, blogs that we found interesting from other companies. So it's a great way to stay connected with us after this workshop. And just wanted to highlight here on the slide some examples of some of the resources that we have created over the past. As farmers ask us questions, ask for support on various materials, we tend to just create a resource, get it up here on the web so anyone can access it. So if you have any suggestions or questions, we'd love to hear them. And there's a lot more resources than just these 5 examples that you see. All right, so I first like to spend some time to just make sure we're on the same page and set the landscape for what is online sales, also known as e-commerce. And online sales, it happens in many forms and it's quickly evolving, ever changing. You can sell through social media accounts now, like on Instagram. You may know already about Craigslist and eBay. These are selling platforms. You can also build your own store using services such as Shopify, Squarespace, which provide e-commerce options as part of their software. And we'll share more details on all these options on how to choose an online platform that works for you during today's workshop. But it's basically any transaction that takes place over the internet is e-commerce. Just got to set that groundwork. And there's today's workshop. We're going to be looking at like, okay, maybe you already have taken your business virtually, or maybe you're trying to decide if you want to. So I want to provide this bird's eye view of what an e-business landscape looks like. And it can seem overwhelming, but matching up your marketing and tech strategy with your level of operation and tech competency is what we're hoping to help you assess today for yourself with our new resource and quiz, which we'll be able to do later on. And many of you are maybe you're accessing an online market for the first time, or maybe you feel you have outgrown your current platform. But we really hope this presentation can help get you closer to accessing your needs and providing you with a few options to choose from. So putting the effort into planning out your strategies and long-term goals will make e-commerce decision-making easier. So my goal isn't to work through all the dozens of software platforms, plugins, APIs, payment processors. No, for this webinar, we want to provide resources on how to evaluate all these options and share examples from what other farms have experienced and what systems they decided to adopt. And we've learned a lot from farmers through our technical support sessions. So we want to share that knowledge with you today. And after that last slide, you may be feeling a little bit intimidating. Digital technology is a very intimidating topic, so it's very normal to feel that way. But do not worry, you're not alone. We're happy to help we're here to help at the Tech Hub. No one was born knowing any of this knowledge, so have no fear. I please encourage everyone to just ask lots of questions and don't hesitate to reach out to us directly as well. And there's no dumb questions with technology. There's a lot out there. And when people talk about technology, it can be really intimidating too. All the acronyms and Web 2.0, all those things. And it's important for small businesses, such as a small farm, to consider how online sales fits in with your business model, because this is happening, this trajectory graph I have of online sales. More and more customers every year are purchasing more goods online. Its growth is continuing, and more people are getting even more access to internet, and they're experiencing how convenient it can be. So we're seeing this accelerate at a pretty fast level. And this is just a highlight of how food and personal care category here that you can see how much is going on right now in that industry. This is global, but companies like Walmart and Amazon are really getting like a big share of these sales. We're seeing a lot of increased purchases, so it's important for farms and small food businesses to know what's going on. And if you're looking at this chart, you might be wondering what this is, but this is Google searching for CSAs basically in their community. And you can see that there's a huge, you can't see the dates that well, but this is April of 2020. And we all remember what that spike in interest in our local food supply was. It was COVID. But then we see it go back down to normal rates after that. So farmers were able to reach a lot of new customers during that time. An important part of your e-commerce strategy as well is including tactics for customer retention. So it's important to think ahead through all these additional layers when deciding on adopting a new marketing channel, such as e-commerce. So just wanting to highlight this because there's a lot more involved than just pushing a few buttons and getting your store launched. And we also know that small farms are unique business and that you're usually selling directly to your community. You're not Amazon. You have really close relationships with your customers, which is fantastic. It's why CAFF is here to support you, because we love that it's food for our local communities. And this is a chart from the results from the 2020 Local Food Marketing Practice Survey that the USDA does. I'm wanting to highlight it just to show you what other outlets farmers are selling, their products. And this probably aligns with what you're all experiencing as well. So it's important to consider online sales carefully and the reasons why you are considering it. There are different ways to sell your products, different options for how you collect payment. Perhaps after reviewing your goals, you determine that you actually want to better market yourself online and not actually sell stuff online. You just want to learn how to use social media, make cool blogs or videos. So perhaps facilitating pre-order purchasing through your website makes more sense than shipping goods. Maybe your customers are asking for this and you're trying to just adapt to them. Or maybe are you even in a position to manage an additional new market channel? Online sales does come with additional management tasks, including customer service, inventory management. But remember that the Tech Hub is here to support you with your business needs and to help identify the proper tools and tactics that best fit your operation. Now, I also want to take a step back and remember how a new or existing digital strategy fits into your overall business plan. Technology really does support you as a business owner. It's tied to all pieces of your business. It offers tools to allow you to better reach your customers, manage your business, whether it's keeping books, just looking online for stuff with what's going on with the market. There are a lot of strategies that you develop as a business owner, whether it's on paper, in your head. You all determined what you would sell. You asked what products and market channels best fit your skills and business goals. And technology offers tools and tactics to help support these strategies. You also want to make sure it fits in with your customer preferences, along with your budget and management capacity. So putting in the effort into planning out your strategies and your long-term goals will make e-commerce decision-making easier. So we're, again, hoping that this resource can help you get started on this journey or reassess what your current needs are and make a path forward. So I'd like to transition now. The slide you see here, it's some of research. It's research on what farmers have experienced in California. One of our Tech Hub previous contractors, Sasha Pesky, she received her PhD at UC Davis, and part of her research was surveying 364 farmers across the state, looking at the digital divide and direct market farmers' online sales during the COVID pandemic. So there's some interesting results. I'm not going through all of her research. We have it posted on our Tech Hub website if you'd like to read her research and learn more about this. I'm just going to be highlighting a few examples that I think relate to farmers who are looking at online sales. So by analyzing her survey results, she found that farmers who increased their use of online sales and marketing were statistically likely to increase their overall sales and profitability, have lower concerns about the pandemic's impact on their farm, and feel like they had greater ability to respond to the pandemic's disruptions. And some farms, 26%, identified online sales as one of the top 5 attributes that helped their farm respond to pandemic-related challenges. And most farms who did online sales increased their profitability of these sales. So although some farmers started doing online sales with the pandemic, many are continuing to use it because they find that their customers appreciate it. And you can see here the quotes of one farmer was able to increase their sales of their add-ons for their CSA by over 200%. But there are also reasons why online sales may not work for every farm. So I wanted to highlight some notes from her research on this too, because it is something to take seriously with your evaluation. So Sasha's research showed that out of the farmers who did not have an online presence, 46% were not interested in it, but 51% lacked the necessary resources to do online sales and marketing. So Sasha studied how farmers who don't use it may have the perception of it being too tedious and complicated. It takes too much time and effort to use online sales and marketing. So the farmers identified that not having someone to manage it was a reason for why they didn't use it. And she also highlighted that a farmer lacking the necessary knowledge could be related to this perception of it being too tedious and complicated. And this is why we're hosting this workshop today. And the work of the Tech Hub exists because there are many farmers who lack the knowledge of what tools are available to them, what might be the best fit for their operation. It's hard to take time to learn about these things. Managing the farm itself is, as we know, a full-time job. So there's a lot of access to information that the Tech Hub is really trying to expand and make easier for the small farmer to learn about. And farming operations can be so varied, so the same tool doesn't necessarily apply to all farms. So some farmers we also see maybe spending too much time, effort, and money into tools that aren't returning on the investment. So the right tool for the right job, right? Oops, lost my place. And some of the reasons stated in the slide are valid. So not having internet is certainly a barrier, but we at the Tech Hub want to make sure farmers who are interested have access to resources and support. So these are just a few key points from Saucer's research, like I said, and there's more where that came from, but that's what I wanted to make sure to highlight from this latest research. And I'm recycling this photo from a previous presentation that I did provide during COVID because I just think it's important to remember. And many of the farmers that we've directly supported over the last 3 years have shared concerns and self-doubt about their ability to work with digital tools. We've heard a lot of things from like, this is like a different language. This is really difficult. I'm just going to apologize to you now because I'm like really bad at this. But there's no reason to apologize because we're all learning new skills with these new technologies. And many farms know more than they realize. So with support, we're able to quickly learn, how a new system works. And online systems are getting easier and easier to use. They're becoming much more user-friendly. So just want to share this because I think many folks underestimate their abilities. And, there's a lot of shame and sometimes just feeling like you're falling behind and not able to like keep up with fast pace of the world. But like learning any new skill, it takes instruction, it takes patience, it takes providing yourself some grace, and pushing through times when you will feel frustrated and challenged. And I have this quote here because if there's anything I know about farmers, it's your grit and your resilience and your ability to adapt are off the charts. You're the best problem solvers in the world. And we really want to be here to support you on this digital technology journey. So this is a graphic I cut out from the guide that I'm going to share at the end of this presentation, and it's a little bit choppy because it doesn't all fit on one beautiful slide, but it's a beautiful 8.5 by 11 page document. It provides an overview of the different components of your e-commerce site and selling items online. And I know there's a lot of information on here and it's probably overwhelming, but don't worry, the quiz that we're going to have you all go through will help you narrow down your focus. So you don't have to look at all this at once. But just highlighting this first component that you see here with the middle, the sun, is your web hosting, your website. And you can see here everything that comes out of that. So I have 9 components highlighted here to hosting an online store. And you can spend more time reviewing this in the actual resource guide. But for now, I just wanted to highlight a couple examples. Like one example could be how your inventory gets updated and managed with an online store. Are you using the same point of sale system between both your farm stand sales and your online sales, maybe your farmer's market sales? Do you need to integrate any of those? Or do you need to integrate your accounting software into the sales that are happening online? These are all important factors to consider because sometimes things can't integrate and then you're having to look at 2 separate accounts, compare numbers. So it is important to do an assessment first to make sure things are going to work well together. And again, the Tech Hub is here to help with these assessments. And another thing I wanted to know is how much control you want over your online store and your content, how much knowledge you'd like to have, knowing how to update things. We've talked to a lot of farmers who have gone through the experience of having a friend or a web developer build out things for them. But then they forget how to edit it. Maybe they don't have the account information. And it can be really frustrating because maybe you need to make an edit on your inventory. You need to update an important contact information about your farm and you don't have access to that. So many of the farmers that we've worked with have really appreciated building something from the ground up. So they really know how it works and how to update things going forward. And it is common to have to go back and forth to refine architecture after you create content. A lot of farm businesses out there are farm hacking their different websites and e-commerce stores to get the options that they want. So before selecting an option, many farmers will develop a list of questions that are important to their businesses, like such as, what's my point of sale system? Is this site compatible with that? And then they go over those with a sales rep at that company, or they do a lot of research on it to make sure it's going to be a good fit. And we have example lists of questions that we'd be able to provide you. And just like all that I shared again may seem like a lot to you, but this slide I really appreciated this. It's a breakdown that a farmer shared with me about like 3 steps, typical path of development for small farm e-commerce success. So I'm just going to review this briefly. And the top photos, depict how a beginner usually feels when they're beginning this journey. Frustrated, like, what is this happening? Maybe your computer stops working, but before you know it, you're running credit card payments smoothly, you're packing pre-orders or shipping out deliveries like this joyous couple you see on the right. So there's a journey that this goes through, and it sometimes takes some time. So just wanting to highlight this broken down into 3. So the first, adopt a point of sale system that is trusted by your customers. And what is a point of sales or POS? It's a system in the time and place at which a retail transaction is completed. So Square, think of your credit card readers, think of Venmo. There are a lot of different types of POS systems. So adopting an official electronic point of sale system for your customers is a great way to show that you are a trusted vendor. And this could be a card reader that plugs into your phone. It could also be an app that's directly connected to your bank. It could be QuickBooks sending your folks invoices, maybe use another provider. And methods of payments, customers are expecting to have access to these payments, and they're adding more in. So you have the Apple Pay, you have the Google Pay, you have those things coming out too with people's watches. So considerations for adopting a point of sale system may involve looking at what your current accounts offer. So maybe your business banking provider already has a point of sale system that you can access for free. Maybe your accounting system provides it. So those are just some examples of what you can look into, and our resource provides more examples too for you to learn about. The second step, so taking pre-orders through an online store, is a common next step for farmers looking to expand their online sales. So customers may appreciate having the option to pre-order and then pick up in person at the farmer's market or at your farm stand. Customers say it's sometimes more convenient and fast because they just get to pay with a credit card. And then they also get to get certain products that are maybe regularly sold out. So they like having that ability to like confirm that they're going to get those products. And local delivery is appreciated as well, but that also you have to be careful when you're offering that, because there's a lot of costs that go into a delivery system and handling those deliveries, whether it's you yourself who are doing it or outsourcing it to a third party. You need to make sure it's a reasonable profit on the sale. And being able to track your inventory is also important with this step, because you don't want to disappoint a customer who maybe has pre-ordered something and then you sell out of it at your farmer's market. And the third step on this path, which is one that requires careful consideration, is to add online shipping. And this step is more often appropriate for products that can be shipped without a high risk of damage. So there's a lot of meat producers who are able to use refrigerated packaging, and also value-added producers who have added this option. And it's really been a great return on the investment. One meat producer that we worked with has acquired 100 new customers within her first year of launching her online store. And I show this slide just to kind of stress the shipping. It's important to note that some items are much more difficult to ship than others. So some examples, like mailing a 10-pound bag of mushroom growing medium like kit, is very different than mailing like a dried 8-ounce package of dried mushrooms. Their size, weight, and the perishability of products too can sometimes make online shipping a deal breaker. But it doesn't mean that you can't sell these items online with in-person pickup. There's also some creative strategies around working with other businesses, getting your products to customers. So we're happy to share examples of how that can work. So here's some of the things I'm going to work through, some of the items that go into the investment of time that an online store can take. And this varies greatly. You can have some people make a really simple website that works more like a virtual business card in like under a couple hours. But a typical website where you have multiple pages, you have about you have photos, standard website can take 20 to 40 hours, more or less. Give yourself 2 to 4 weeks. Of course, this can vary. Maybe it takes someone 5 hours. Another farm has shared that maybe it was like 80 hours, 100 hours. But the average is around 20 to 40 hours for a simple website. And keep in mind that website development includes your planning and design, your content creation, building the actual pages, and then reviewing and editing everything. But again, building websites and working with some of these providers has never been easier. It's very easy to drag things in, to upload photos. It's much more easier than it was even just 5 or 10 years ago, and it continues to get easier for people. Then you also have just having an online website. It does help get more people to your business virtually, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee it. So we also recommend spending time on your digital marketing. Many of the farmers that we work with, it's anywhere from 30 minutes a week to 5 hours a week, where they're maybe emailing their customers, just like updates on the farm to keep them excited and engaged, responding to inquiries, social media posts, writing and sending out newsletters. These are all important strategies for your business to make the most use of an online presence. And then, of course, if you have an online store, there's updating your products, your inventory, making sure all those things are keeping up to date. It does take time to manage. Now, yeah, going over again some of the typical costs that go into managing an online store and an online presence. So there's typical fixed costs, but these can vary as well. So if you want to have a custom domain name like myfarm.com, you pay for that, like leasing that real estate of that URL out in the World Wide Web. And those domains you pay every year. They're usually $10 to $20 a year for buying that domain, but that price can range. If it's could maybe just be a few dollars, it could go up from that if it's a really popular name. And then there's also monthly service fees and different commissions that an online store could charge. So monthly service fees to your website host or your website builder. That's one example, which I'll go over to in a minute. Also, if you have online accounting, all these things, your monthly fees that go into your virtual business. Some online stores charge a commission on sales versus a monthly fixed fee. So commissions can work out really well for farms if they're not doing that many online sales versus if they're paying a set price of, let's say, $20 to $30 a month to be able to sell online to their customers. A fixed cost too that just to be aware of is payment processing fees for processing credit cards are something that can't be avoided unless you're receiving cash and like direct deposit from all of your customers. These fees are going to continue to increase as more and more people use digital payments. It's unfortunately just a cost of doing business. It's approximately around 3%. It will be like 2-point-something% plus a certain amount of cents per transaction. So that's very typical, and those can add up if you're doing a lot of transactions or a lot of big sales. But one thing that a lot of our small farmers, a tactic that they've used is they actually ask the customers to pay for that, or they increase their price by that amount. Some farms have had it as like a kind of a tip, like leave us a 3% tip to help pay for our credit card fee. And that's I think it's great to do because a lot of your customers really appreciate you and have a better relationship than, the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world. So they're like more willing to help you guys out. So something to note on that. And then of course, another fixed cost, you have the cost of your equipment, supplies, maybe you have to buy a new computer to get your website built. And of course, their Wi-Fi, electricity needs to go into that. And then to the variable costs, what I mentioned earlier about a website host and a builder. So these two things are usually bundled. This is like Squarespace, Shopify also works for that. WordPress is another popular website host and builder. And there's dozens and dozens of these companies out there. So the cost can range from free to like thousands of dollars. So we're happy to help it. Some of the most common ones, the commonly used ones are in our resource guide. It's Squarespace, Shopify, and WordPress are three that are really used because they have e-commerce as well. There's also free websites that we have outlined in our resource guide that are great fits as well. Variable costs as well. As I mentioned, if you hire a developer, that could be really expensive, but it is something that's available for people. You can have sometimes a friend will do it for a really low cost. A typical developer maybe charges a couple $1,000s, but then depending on your needs, you really can, sky's the limit with that one. I know one farm that was doing a lot of sales, so it made sense for this expense, but was paying their web developer $10,000 a year to like manage their website and all the sales that were coming through that website. And you also have email marketing platforms. So these can also be free. They can maybe be an add-on to your existing stores. Like Squarespace has email marketing for an extra $10 a month. These are really powerful tools for farmers to use. You have control over communicating with your customers. You can send them emails, you can send them promos. And we really advise all farmers to take advantage of email marketing compared to social media, because you don't always control social media. Those accounts are owned by those people, but you own your email addresses. So it's a really powerful marketing tool. All right, and I always share this resource in every presentation because it's such a great tool. And just in case there's someone on the session who doesn't know about it, but this is a great tool for learning about about the different e-commerce options. It highlights the top 12 platforms ranked by farmers. And we've had previous presenters share their experiences using some of the platforms you see listed here, such as Shopify, Square, Farmigo, and they are happy with their respective platforms. So you can find these presentations at our YouTube channel, as I was talking about. This resource guide is also linked in the resource that I'll be sharing later on. All right. So now I'd like to go into some examples from the farms that we've worked with, that we've highlighted in the past, just to show you some of the different considerations that farmers have experienced when they chose their platform, maybe things that they wish were a little bit better. So I think we have a lot to learn from these real examples. So this is a farm that we highlighted back when COVID first hit, and they were using Square for their online website. But as markets changed, they found they needed better options for setting up pickup, delivery, shipping through their online sales platforms. So they prioritized those three things to evaluate a better option for them. And Shopify ended up being what they went with. They moved their website over to Shopify and left Square. And their store is $29 a month, plus credit card processing fees that they have to pay for all the sales. But it's been a great outlet for them. I just was looking at their store, and a lot of their products are sold out, which means hopefully it's a good sign. But they manage a lot of direct-to-consumer, wholesaler, and restaurant sales, and they're raising approximately 1,000 birds a week. So for only $29 a month, they're getting a really great return on the investment with a Shopify store. And a big consideration here with this one is that they recommend is consideration of your own time. And that maybe it's better to invest a little more in a platform that's easy to use and has functionality that you need for your farm, rather than selling on something that is maybe free or super low cost. Oftentimes you do get what you pay for. So some of the lower cost sites can be more clunky or frustrating to use and time consuming. So your time is really valuable. She really felt like she could get her Shopify store up fairly quickly, and was really happy with how user-friendly it was. All right, and this is another farm, and I'm going to go ahead and who also adopted Shopify. And I'm going to go ahead and read their quote out loud for any of our farmer attendees who are maybe weeding or like packing right now and are just listening in. It was definitely a process to get our Shopify store set up and going. It works well, but there's a learning curve. You don't realize how many details there are for getting things online, having good photos with descriptions, figuring out packaging, etc. I'm happy with my choice though. It is pretty user-friendly, especially once you get comfortable with the format. It's been at least 80 hours over a 2-year period, but we've now brought in 100 new customers. It's a process and there's always something to work on. It's never done, but that's kind of life, right? So this was great to work with this farmer and hear how things have been going now that some time has passed. And this is also a farm who had a friend help with building their initial website, which is a WordPress site. But it can be difficult for her to access how to make updates. So it's something that she wished she kind of would have done herself from the beginning. It's like a lesson learned there that we'd like to share with you all. And she's also now managing 2 sites, her WordPress and her Shopify store. So one of her goals is to just create her website through Shopify. So she only has 1 account to manage. And that's fine to do because it's included in her Shopify option. So it'd be easy to transfer over. It's just going to take time to do it. And with these type of farms too, sometimes with the online store, you need to buy different plugins to help with some of your specific needs with selling your products. So with meat producers, that's often how do you do like your weight variations and the different cuts? What shipping plugin do you need? So the Tech Hub can also help with that, with what plugins have worked well for different farms, depending on which e-commerce site you go with. Another update that I wanted to share with this particular farm is because of Shopify's, because of the reports that Shopify provides on the sales and how detailed they are and really user-friendly. They're great from what I've heard from farmers. She was actually able to downgrade her QuickBooks from Pro to a basic plan at $22 a month. So she was actually saving $18 a month from QuickBooks and helping to, save on the expense of having her Shopify store because Shopify is doing such a great job with giving her some sales reports. So yeah, that's one example. We'll go to the next one. All right, so this is Hen and Harvest Farm. We'll also be actually highlighting them as a standalone webinar in a couple weeks. So we'd love to get you on that webinar so you can learn directly from this farmer on their online marketing and sales. But this farm started an online farm stand. So it's pretty small. They just do 10 to 15 pre-orders a week with the pickup at her farm or delivery to the local farmers market. But it works really great for her. She has very low cost to make this online farm stand work for her business. So she uses WordPress and she uses the free WordPress version. So she only has to pay for her domain and website host, which is a very low cost on an annual basis. And then she uses the plugin to make sure her WordPress store or the online farm stand works. She uses Square for her payment processor. But one thing that she's had to kind of compromise on with the free option is she wishes her system separated her pickup and delivery orders, but it doesn't. So she has to kind of manually go through those and make sure the orders are in the right place at the right time. There's always room for improvement. So it's important to acknowledge that, things can be improved upon over time. But this current system is working fine. And then if her customer base grows, she can adopt moving forward with that. And this is another farm I'm excited to highlight. So this is a small CSA farm with less than 30 members. And I'm also going to read their quote just in case anyone's just listening in. Adding an online store gave us more marketing potential and legitimacy with our customers. A secondary benefit that wasn't intentional was streamlining a few business management tasks, like sending email reminders to our customers for their CSA pickup and automatically collecting everyone's contact information. But adding an online store hasn't necessarily saved us time. Our customers still like to call us with lots of questions and updates. So yeah, and this farm uses Squarespace for their website. It looks really great. And then they quickly adapted an online sales platform, Grown By, which operates with just 2% of online sales taken plus the credit card processing fees. So it was a really low cost way for them to get an online store added. But they're also in a review process. Squarespace has an e-commerce option, and they have, if they could maybe identify a way of having fixed CSA boxes without too many variations or add-ons, just having products in a Squarespace store might be a good fit for them as well. But right now that would cost more money than what their commissions would be in Grown By. So having Grown By right now is working well for them. I also use QuickBooks for accounting. And yeah, and I'm happy they use the Squarespace email marketer as well, which they like to use to stay in touch with their customers. Then transitioning to a larger CSA. So this is also a farm that we highlighted on our previous webinar. So if you're interested in hearing more directly from them, you're welcome to. But their membership has ranged from 300 to 1,000 members, depending on the season and the year. And with more unique customers and more money on the table, it's important to scale your online platform to meet those needs. So a platform that's dependable with managing a high volume of orders and customers is key to avoid any future headaches around data consolidation or inventory management or lost sales. So just kind of highlighting again, you do sometimes get what you pay for. So there are a lot of platforms out there that are really expensive. This one, you can see the numbers here listed on the slide. But these more advanced platforms can range anywhere from $60 to like $400 a month, but could be worth it as a way to keep sales moving and customers happy, especially if there's glitches or bugs that come up with some of the more affordable options. All right, so planning, wanting to highlight a couple slides before we get into the resource and taking the quiz. But planning ahead and asking the big questions before you choose a platform will save you time in the long run. It's time consuming to set up a new website or online sales with all your inventory, adding all those things in, getting all your photos uploaded. So you want to make sure you're making the best decision for the farm, and it's not always one size fits all. So we've identified the 3 considerations that we find to be the most critical when you begin the process. So looking at your personnel and skill set, how comfortable are you using technology? If you're not managing the online store, who is and what is their skill set and capacity? You have your cost and budget. So what's your budget for the online sales platform? How much time can you save by switching to a more efficient, streamlined system? Or maybe you don't save time, but it's that professional, trusted store that's going to make your customers happy. And needs and goals. What are the critical features or functionalities of the platform? What would streamline your operation better? What is the purpose of the online store for your farm? What are you selling? So it's just important to work through all these questions in advance to make sure you try to get with the platform that best fits your needs. And again, you can always make changes too. So we don't want this to be too intimidating, but we're just trying to stress the importance of doing some thorough research before jumping into a big investment. And I know the farm examples are always helpful because this is often something we hear from farmers all the time is like, what are other farmers doing? Can you just tell me what to do? But unfortunately, there isn't one answer to how a farmer, what they should do. It's not always so simple. And I have these photos up here because it's like having a farmer ask, so how do I amend my soil? And of course, there's a lot of factors that you need to consider before you make amendments in your soil. Each farming business is unique, and certain factors regarding the goals of the business and the farm owners or staff capacity does need to be taken into account. But CAFF does, and myself included, we love trying to simplify things as much as possible for our small farm community. We know your time is limited. So we're really excited with this new resources that we've created because it's going to be providing you just a few minutes of questions. And then there's different logic that will take you to different recommendations that we have for where you can start. So we're really excited to get into this resource and quiz next. But I also want to give a big warning before we jump in that this may be an oversimplification for some businesses. We've made it a simple resource, which also means it doesn't go into all the details that some businesses may want to see. So this is in a beta version right now. We're really eager to take any and all feedback, and we can move forward with making a version 2 with that feedback. So just want to stress that because we're going to spend some time here today digging in. All right, so it's finally arrived. I've been talking for a lot, and this is the moment that I know I've been waiting for. I hope you're excited about it, but we are going to take the quiz and see this resource. So the slide you see here will take you to a website where our quiz is linked. And I'd like us all to take some time. I'm going to play some relaxing jazz music for the next few minutes. 4 to 5 minutes is what I'm going to budget. That should give everyone plenty of time to take this quiz. And then keep in mind as you're reading your result that we really would love to hear feedback on this. So this will be posted in the chat. It's already in there. So you'll see that the quiz is linked there. It also is available in Spanish. And I'm going to go ahead and get some music playing. All right, I'm hoping that was enough time for folks. But we will go ahead and keep moving forward. So hopefully folks were able to take the quiz and you, or at least you're maybe doing a final review of what the recommendations are. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next stage here of the presentation. So I'm clicking here on our website that houses this resource and the quiz questions as well. I wanted to take some time to review what is on this website. And we're going to be emailing these things out to all the attendees as a resource, and also the recording too as well. So please feel free to share this with other folks as well, or follow up with any questions or feedback you have on anything. So this is how the site works. I'm just making sure my screen is still being shared, correct? Please let me know in the chat if my screen lets off, but I'm assuming you guys can all see this. Oh, thank you. Okay. So here's how the website looks, and we have our resource that you can open, and this can be printed at home. This helps walk you through the entire resource with all the different things that we have included in here. I'm going to go ahead and go. So we just took the quiz. That was step 1. This is the graphic that I was sharing on one of those previous slides. It has the different components of what's involved in online sales that you can review in your own time. We also have here some tips for beginners on online sales and what that looks like. I've already mentioned the credit card processing fees, but I do want to mention something about how our free payment processors that I know many farmers have been using, such as Venmo, they allow free transactions between family and friends, but as time goes on, this is going to be more difficult to do for business sales. Right now, the requirement is $20,000 for reported sales to report to the IRS, but there was a new requirement that was proposed to drop that all the way down to $600. It was delayed, but changes like that we can expect to see in the future. We also want to highlight, there's the learning curve, which I've mentioned in the part of the presentation. Also, don't make the assumption that selling online means you're going to have less time with customers. It actually means more time because there's a virtual marketplace with thousands and thousands and thousands of other businesses and customers out there in the virtual marketplace. Maybe they're going to have higher expectations for how quickly you respond, or there's going to be maybe complaints shared as well. So just something to keep in mind. And always test before you launch. Use your friends and family. Tech Hub would be happy to help too, just to make sure everything's working smoothly before you officially launch it to your customers. This is that typical path of development that we reviewed already. And then after you all took your quiz, they're selecting the kind of e-commerce that is right for you. So by doing that quiz that you just did, you got some suggestions, but all the options are outlined here in this document and on the website for you to review if you feel like maybe your questions or your options, you'd like to see if maybe there's one that's a better fit, or just assess if you agree with what the results were. We'd love to hear that. You can also go back and retake the quiz at any point. So your answers will be saved. If you want to go back and change your answers, you can do that. We definitely recommend that you are as honest as possible, because we've really taken some time to curate this resource, so it really does get you to the right place. I won't go into details with all of these, but we have 6 different options here with examples that you can see. So that is the second step, is reviewing. And then the third step is depending on how you move forward with this information. If you do decide to create an online market channel, we advise that you create your e-commerce business strategy. And there's a few guides here that we have outlined in this part of the resource. So knowing your goals and motivations, creating a plan, understanding your why, also taking time to understand your audience, Online customers, like I mentioned, do have different preferences and expectations. So you want to make sure you define who that target audience is so you can best connect with them. And we actually have a webinar on our YouTube channel where Corinna Bench does how she's targeted her customers, and she walks you through a process for how you can do that for your customers. And it's a really, really valuable resource that we highly recommend for learning how to better define and target your audience. And making a marketing plan. So adding an e-commerce option doesn't necessarily deliver more sales. You will need to market your business online to make the most of it. So this involves communicating with customers regularly. We recommend at least 1 to 2 times a month. Checking to see if email marketing is included maybe in your current website or e-commerce plan. It's like I mentioned, could be maybe $10 extra, but it's usually a great option. There's also free ones available. Learn different strategies for social media engagement. That could be increasing average customer orders, your customer retention. And we have lots of webinars and resources on social media marketing as well. Also consider adding discounts and promo codes for your new customers, or referrals from existing customers to new customers to keep them happy and engaged and keep them coming back to your online store. And you'll also want to review and respond to how your customers are shopping. Analytics that a lot of sites provide is a great tool to do that. So we always recommend that. And look at what's getting the most clicks. Maybe there's a way that you can build into that component of your business more and make more money off of it. And then evaluating the results. Write out your expectations in advance for how your online store will help you with your business, and keep evaluating that. Maybe some of the things that you want to do is stay better organized. So after you've had some time doing it, reassess, is this keeping me more organized, or is it actually making me less organized? Has it saved you time, or has it added more unexpected burdens? Looking at your sales numbers, have those increased? Have you gained new customers through your online store? And then also understanding at what point you might be willing to drop an online store if you aren't seeing the results that you were expecting. So that is the resource. And then this website that we have here also has these main items listed out. So you can see the tips for beginners are included here. All the different options and recommendations that you maybe received are also listed here. So we encourage you to explore this website more, read the resource, and please give your feedback on what you think about it. So going back to our presentation. All right, so we just reviewed those. Now looking to wrap this up, and then have chance for feedback from you, from questions from the audience. I saw that there was a couple in the chat, so we can have some time for that to end. But before I wrap up my presentation, I just want to go over some of the key takeaways for your e-commerce journey. Investing your time in a mindful assessment of your needs, capacity, and budget when you choose an online platform. Just please, spend some time to think through that. And there are a ton of free resources online, including our website, and the Tech Hub is a free service. So we are available to you as a business therapist, as a soundboard to help you formulate a plan if you are considering an e-commerce solution. If you want to build a website, or if you just need help with a current system glitch too, we'd be happy to help you with that. I'd love to thank everyone for their time, for taking this new quiz that we just launched. We're really excited about. We're eager to hear from you all. So now with the rest of our time today, we can take Q&A. And then I see one question in the chat. Oh, thank you, Rachel, for this feedback. So does Zelle work? Zelle that's actually a good question. That's some banks use Zelle, and it's great for direct deposits. They may also be doing different reporting for if it's a sales business transaction versus friends to family. So we can double check that. I think it's okay now, but that also may be changing, but let me double check that and we can send it in the follow-up resources. Sorry, I don't know that one off the top of my head. But what is happening, like, one example is PayPal. A lot of friends and family used to exchange money via PayPal and there's no fees. But if the person who's paying you marks like this was for a business sale, then PayPal automatically adds the same processing fees that a credit card would charge. So Zelle, I'm not sure where they stand on that, but we'll definitely look it up for you. Yes, we will email all the resources that we've highlighted.
I am pretty sure there's no fees for Zelle.
And then again, we'll look at where it's forecasted to go to, because as we've mentioned, the IRS is getting more and more strict about these because there's more and more e-commerce happening, more and more online transactions. So everyone wants their cut. So we'll be keeping everyone up to date with when these changes happen too, through our Tech Hub newsletters and the resources that we are generating. And yeah, just to reiterate, we're recording this workshop as well, and we'll be following up via email with all the attendees and the folks who registered. So please pass it along to any friends or anyone that you feel may benefit from this knowledge. And yeah, taking other questions. Any questions in the Q&A box? I think I can only see the chat right now. Oh yeah. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. And one, maybe just to get our wheels spinning in case people are still processing the results. I already received feedback from one of the farmers that we used to help pilot this quiz on. And she was suggesting to have, in addition to the recommendations, like a comprehensive table that outlines differences between the platforms that we've highlighted and the resource as examples that you could choose from, and then like check what different aspects of the products that they provide or the different services they provide and have a checkbox just to compare everything like on one table. I thought that was a great idea. So that's something that we can look into creating to have as an attachment. I'm curious too to hear. I'm not sure if people can they come off mute? Guido or Estefania?
No, there's
Okay.
only questions in the chat and the Q&A.
Okay.
I don't see anything in the Q&A. But yeah, we still have some time if anyone has another question. Or as Elizabeth already said, we'll get in contact with you to share some of these resources. All right. Well, I guess we can wrap this up then. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great. And yeah, you'll see that there's the feedback, or you saw that there's the feedback box at the end of that quiz. So love to hear from you on any ideas that you may have for it, or how it looks for you, if you agree with the results, if you disagree. Oh, I see a question. Do we need any special permits to sell online? That is a great question. I'm thinking of all the permits that might be required, whether you're at a farmer's market and you're getting inspected for making sure your produce is all the items that you say you're growing. So I'm assuming that's what you mean by special permits or business licenses. But no, really anyone can sell stuff online. Of course, you need to be, if you are selling products that have tax, that need to be reported for taxes, you want to make sure your e-commerce platform is tracking that stuff. But I'm trying to think if there's any other like permits or ways to interpret that word for online sales. It's really easy to sell stuff online. So reporting your goods sold is, you could be a sole proprietor and do that under your annual taxes. So Shopify doesn't have any like box that makes you upload your business license or anything. Not to my knowledge, but you do have to report all this stuff for taxes. So they track that. Oh, can we accept EBT online? So this is This is actually something that is getting worked out right now for the small farm community. Yeah, I see that there's a workshop this morning. We actually have more information on this that I can include in the follow-up email. Because right now our big, corporations like Walmart and is able to accept EBT, but it's much more difficult for a small business to get approved to accept EBT payments online. But there is a pilot organization grown by that is working with a whole bunch of other providers. They got a big grant through the USDA to try to make this more accessible for small businesses, such as small farms, to utilize. So we can send the information out on that with getting enrolled or getting on the interest list for that, and also some information that's related to it. But yeah, great question. That's a huge thing for people to be able to access those additional funds. So Walmart isn't the only company that's capturing them all. We want our small businesses to get them too. Any other questions? Oh, thank you, Maria, for posting that. So she just posted a link, EBT for your small farm online store. And this gives information on that update that came out last year, I believe, and it's the initial phase of it too. So unfortunately, it's a lot of the things are getting worked out, but there is a path forward for people starting to be able to accept these payments.